Howdy folks, today I'm going to talk about the Tanchjim Hana 2.0. These are a one dynamic driver set. They have the exact same fit and shell as the original oxygens, which are right here. There are no differences whatsoever. The tip length, in case anyone cares, has not been altered. And so it is basically, oh wait a minute, look at that. No, let's see. Nah, I think they're identical completely, every aspect. So same shell, exactly. A little different color, doesn't matter, who cares? All right, so if I pull up the product page, which is not that, sorry. There we go. We can see that these are $180. And they're about 2 years newer than the original oxygens. So a lot of folks might be thinking like, well, maybe they just used the same driver, stuck it in a new shell and called it a day. And, like 2 years later, maybe it's cheaper to manufacture or something like that. But I'm here to tell you that it's not. These are definitely a lower end headphone than the original oxygens. So if you look at the graph, we're going to say, pretty much very similar, like mids to, I don't know, mid-bass-ish. And then we have definitely more mid-bass here on the Hana 2.0 and compared to the oxygen. In terms of how that comes across, the Hana definitely has a little more slam, but you don't hear any roll-off or anything funny like that. It basically, their bass response on both of these headphones is pretty well excellent. It all just, what matters is how it all comes together in the end. So 1K, we got the rise to 2.5K, pretty well same as oxygens. Hana looks like it's got a little extra energy there. I don't know, it probably doesn't matter. Then we have a little extra between 5 and 8K on the oxygen. And yeah, so like I said, most folks are trying to figure out if this is just basically an oxygen driver 2 years later in a different shell for cheap. And the answer is no, it's not. I actually do not believe that these are the same drivers in these headphones. I believe the oxygen has got to be their higher end driver, must be more expensive. That's my best guess. So I do believe that Tanchjim knew this, and that's why they priced it accordingly, $100 less. Just my opinion. All right, moving on to the Excel spreadsheet. Hana on top. If we look at the exceptional factor, we have a 9 out of 10. I really do like these a lot. So do I like them as much as the oxygens? No, I don't. I'll just say that straight up. And I'll scroll up to the oxygens here after a while. So 9 out of 10 an exceptional factor. I do like them a lot. And if I had just bought them without knowing the oxygens, then I would probably be totally over flipping myself out over them. 9 out of 10. Accuracy is going to be 8 out of 10. And so the reason for that is because if compared AB to the oxygens, which I've done within seconds, I'm trying to get that really good. They come across as a slightly more V-shaped headphone than the original oxygens. Everybody knows my preference for mids, and I really want to hear the mids when they're appropriate, when a track calls for it. And the Hana 2.0 gives you a little more sub-bass, a little more mid-bass, and a little more treble. It's just a little. So we'll give it an 8 out of 10 in accuracy. Could be better like the originals, but they're not. Wideness is going to be 9 out of 10. A little extra treble in there will do you good for wideness. There's nothing lacking in that. I absolutely adore them in terms of that respect. Moving on to 3D, we have an 8.5 out of 10. And so if I had to, I believe the original oxygens are going to have a little bit better 3D, possibly a little less good wideness, although it's very, very minor. But the 3D definitely goes down a hair on the Hana 2.0. It's a little, just a little bit V-shaped compared to the original oxygens. We'll just say that. And what that does to the 3D, it brings the treble up a little bit, a little more in your face, and the bass a little more in your face. Whereas on the originals, it's the whole soundscape is a little more even, shall we say. Moving on, imaging. 9 out of 10, a little extra treble. Just fine. Gives you really, really nice pinpoint imaging left to right. Get nothing wrong with the imaging. They're fantastic. 9 out of 10. Volume scaling. So I actually checked this pretty closely because the original oxygens are not entirely forgiving in that respect. Like, for instance, the EJs can scale much more in volume and be enjoyable. The oxygens are a little more fatiguing at higher levels. And in fact, the Hanas, I think they're even just a little more fatiguing, a little extra treble, a little extra bass. After a while, that just ends up being a little intense, a little more intense, shall we say. So 8 out of 10. Moving on, bass, 9.5 out of 10. I love the bass on them. It's excellent. I would actually add, I would decrease the bass. I mean, just by the fact that I've got the oxygens right in front of me, and I know how that sounds. The extra bass, you do need a little extra bass on these to counteract the extra treble, in my opinion, but I don't want either of them. I like it the other way, the oxygen way. Mids, 8.5 out of 10, and yeah, so you add a little extra bass, a little extra treble, and also, I don't think these are the same drivers in these two headphones. I really don't. The oxygen comes across as a little more resolving, a little better driver, basically. A little better control, shall we say? Maybe? A little bit. So mids, 8.5 out of 10. Treble's going to be an 8. Like I said, a little more than the oxygen. I don't want more, though, in this format. And then resolution will have an 8 out of 10. Like I said, I really do believe that the oxygen driver is a higher end driver and probably costs Tanchjim more in the long run. This is just my best guess based on the way it sounds. Pressure buildup, no, they don't have any. Isolating, we'll give it a 3. If you get some nice fat tips, a relatively good insertion, then you're going to have an okay time. They are metal, so there's that. Binaural is going to be a 3 out of 5. A little extra treble, a little extra bass makes binaural slightly less good than the original oxygens. And so let's go back here. We'll scroll up a little bit. So let's see. The oxygens land here. And Hana lands here. And yes, it's a small downgrade. Is that worth $100? That entirely depends on who and what type of person you are. For me, it is not worth the change in price. And apparently I got that wrong. Let's do this. So do I recommend them for $180? Yeah, I do. If we look at my top of my chart here, let's see. So where are we at here? Yeah, so for $180, I'm looking closely, but I guess that is the highest rated set I have for the cheapest amount of money. I actually didn't even realize that. So interesting. 85.5 out of 100, which makes them really, really excellent performers. I do recommend these. For the price, they're excellent. I'll say this, that if you are the kind of person that prefers bass, if you're a bass head, or you like just plenty of bass in your headphones, these might be a little better than the original oxygens. And also if you're a V-shaped type of person, like a little extra hypey treble, then these will hit the mark for sure on the oxygen, over the oxygens. In my opinion, though, they are a small downgrade in terms of technicalities than the oxygen, and I prefer the oxygens over them. Thank you so much, Kevin, for sending me these. I was highly, highly interested to know if they were like an oxygen with the same driver, but just a couple years later, and they are not, in my opinion. So right on, folks. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you on the next one.